file folders in head.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like how employment is.
yeah.
Well, folks, we better. No, we're not.
Oh, I like it. Yeah, nothing to hide.
Yeah, we all. Okay, well, it's 5:33, and we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Carrie, if you would nod your head, can you hear us okay? Okay, good. All right. As we gather today, we acknowledge that Eureka, California is ancestral territory of the Wiyot people. We also honor all indigenous and people and territories and sovereign governments that share governance within Humboldt County, California. We gather with respect and gratitude to these indigenous people. We thank and honor the indigenous caretakers of this land who continue to cherish and protect it. Their elders have instructed the young to consider the 7 generations ahead as they continue to protect the rights of the land and all people who live on it. We encourage all to align and follow the lead of local indigenous communities as they steward the land and protect all of its natural resources. We'll take a moment of silence. Okay. Do another couple of, I'll try not to dominate too much here, but I've got a few things I need to share with you. The next portion is a reminder of our function to aid in the eradication of discrimination in housing, employment, education, public accommodation, race, religious creed, color, national origin, ancestry, physical disability, mental disability, marital status, gender, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, civil interest or civic interest, or other factors. Ours is an advisory commission whose primary purpose is to recommend actions to the Board of Supervisors that may address issues related to human rights in our county. Then with that, we'll do the roll call.
Okay, so Kim is here, Aaron is here, Nazmin is here, Guy is present, Jamie is present, Jim is present, Bern is present, Alyssa is present, and
That's Lisa.
Lisa is
Lisa
not
is
present.
excused and out of the country.
Okay.
Larry is ill and excused, and Carol is excused also. She's at a meeting.
Okay, and I'm present.
Oh, okay.
Ellen.
All right.
That's everybody.
It's more like nods and meaning.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
As in me. Thank you.
Yes.
I have something that I'd like to suggest that we add on our agenda for roll call, that we put 5 people make a quorum. According to the Brown Act, we are unable to count members attending via Zoom toward our quorum. And I think that might be a good thing to have at every meeting so that anybody who looks knows.
That's a good suggestion. I didn't think of that. Yeah, we'll add that on the next time we do this. Next item on the agenda is agenda adjustments. Are there any suggested changes or additions to the agenda as presented? Okay. If not, we'll move on to item 4, which is opening notes or chair notes. I've been kind of a busy week or two, and I wanted to share some things with you. First of all, the fact that our local committee chair, Dr. Perkins, has had to resign from the commission due to the difficulty of travel from Southern Humboldt to here. She was going to try to make it work, but it won't. So I want to make sure that we wish her well and thank her for her service. If there is someone else in Southern Humboldt area that's interested, we would certainly welcome an application to join the commission. Also, because Dotso is the chair of the logo commission, she will still be following up and presenting the final artwork so that we can adopt it. Next, I would like to also encourage, if you're on a committee or if you're a chair of a committee, I'd like to encourage you to more vigorously participate so that all of our ad hoc committees are more effective and thus the commission is more effective. Our work is not complete unless your committees meet and develop ideas for helping human rights in our community. Also, due to possible problems in the next fiscal year county budget, I have asked the CAO's office to determine if leftover funds from this fiscal year can be carried over into the next cycle. Oh, don't shake your head. Oh. Well, they're checking on it, so maybe they'll look kindly upon us. We're still waiting for that answer. Couple of personal notes. I did both of these items as an individual, but I attended a recent Board of Supervisors meeting where a hate speech resolution was presented and approved unanimously. I didn't expect to speak, but I did. And as an individual, I definitely wanted to commend the board for their action. The other item that was done on a personal level was I recently attended the College of the Redwoods fundraising live drag themed stage performance. Some visitors that were there were apparently asked to leave because they wished to video record all or part of the event. I just thought you should know that those activities have been going on in the county. With that, we'll go on to the approval of the meeting minutes from April 6th. I have seen some comments from Bird. Are there any other comments, or should we accept the minutes as presented? Okay, they will be adopted with those changes. Okay, thank you. And next is the treasurer's report.
No change.
Okay.
Sorry, no change. And I think at the last meeting, we asked me about getting some information that was regarding what you just commented about a minute ago with county budget, and I'm still waiting to hear from you. I asked him if we could get a quarterly report.
And I did speak to him a few days ago.
Okay, so
Maybe on the same wavelength. He was there to, he said he was going to check into the possibility of whether there would be any carryover, especially if they were going to cut back on everybody's funding. We shall see. Thank you. At this point, we have a guest speaker who's going to speak for about 10 minutes. Carrie, if you want to try sharing your screen, please feel free. Hope it works. Carrie Hurst is with the Rainbow Family Network, and she's, among other things, seeking support and sponsorship.
Thank you, Jim. The screen share has been disabled.
Give me just a moment and see if I can set. Did that change it? Okay.
She put herself. I think you may have muted everyone.
You're muted.
Could you up your volume?
Thank you. There we go. I was to share the screen, but I muted myself. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for this opportunity, Jim, and the Human Rights Commission. My name is Carrie Hurst. I'm the facilitator of the Rainbow Family Network. I'm a member of the Rainbow Educators Network through Humboldt County Office of Ed. And I'm also a local teacher and parent.
Is it possible for you to turn up your volume a little bit?
Right.
We can hear you. It's just not.
Not very loud. Let me see. I don't know. Did that do anything?
No, but maybe we're going to fix it from this end.
Yeah, I don't. The microphone. Record, disable, mute.
Yeah.
Try it again now.
Okay. Is that any?
Oh, yes.
This. Is that better? You can hear me.
Thank
Okay. Okay. Am I good to go?
Yes, you are.
I'll try yelling a little. I'll try
I don't think you need to
amplifying
now.
my voice. Okay. So before I reveal my big ask, I wanted to contextualize a little bit of why the Rainbow Family Network needs to exist. Oh. So in 2021, Gleason released my slides. A national school climate survey that they conducted. And that school survey found that 82% of queer students reported feeling unsafe at schools, that queer youth who experienced discrimination were nearly 3 times as likely to have missed school in the past month as those who had not experienced discrimination. 29% of queer students had been prevented from using their chosen name or pronouns in their schools, and 27% had been prevented from using the bathroom that aligned with their gender. The Trevor Project conducted a survey in 2022 on LGBTQ mental health, and it found that 45% of queer youth seriously considered attempting suicide in the past year, that nearly 1 in 5 transgender and non-binary youth attempted suicide, and that queer youth of color reported higher rates than their white peers of attempted suicide. Fewer than 1 in 3 transgender and non-binary youth found their home to be gender-affirming places. 60% of queer youth who wanted mental health care in the past year were not able to get it. And that 73% of queer youth reported that they had experienced discrimination based on their sexual orientation at least once in their lifetime. And our local data follows trends like this. In 2022, Queer Humboldt released their results of their Two-Spirit LGBTQIA+ survey. And it found that 24% of our local queer youth reported being physically assaulted at school for being or simply seeming to be queer. 27% of our local queer youth reported being teased, insulted, or put down for being or seeming to be queer by adults on their campuses. 50% of our queer youth reported avoiding bathrooms when at school because they didn't feel safe. And 35% say that they dehydrate their bodies to avoid needing school restrooms. but our actions do matter. And the numbers are clear that when we use a young person's chosen name and pronouns at work, at school, with friends, and at home, these things reduce depression symptoms by 71%, thoughts of suicide by 34%, and suicide attempts by 65%. So that is why it's important that the Rainbow Families Network be formed. I am part of the Rainbow Educators Network that has been meeting for 2 years, doing important work around the county under the Humboldt County Office of Education. We're a group of teachers and other school staff that have come together to support each other in making sure our schools are following the laws and making our schools safe for LGBTQ plus community. And it is with that group, the Rainbow Families Network was born. And it will be a hybrid support and co-education group that will meet online monthly over the school calendar year beginning this coming fall of 2023. We will operate as a stable cohort of Two-Spirit LGBTQIA+ and ally parents, guardians, and caretakers, supporting one another in supporting our local schools and not only being safe places, but ultimately becoming places of liberation for our Two-Spirit LGBTQIA+ students. So here's my big ask. I ask that along with Queer Humboldt and the Eureka NAACP, the Humboldt County Human Rights Commission join us in co-sponsoring the Humboldt Family Network, the Rainbow Family Network. This would entail the use of your logo on advertisements or social media posts we might make advertising the group and looking for membership. And we would ask that you help us spread the word about this group to other parents of LGBTQIA+ students or parents who identify as part of the LGBTQIA+ community. So that's my 5-minute presentation. I'd like to open it up for any questions or clarifications I can make at this point. And I'll stop sharing my screen.
Go ahead, Nazanin.
I'm just wondering a little bit if you could tell us how you plan to make the schools safer spaces. Like, what are some of the tactics or ideas that you have?
Some of the tactics. So some of the things, because the family network hasn't come together yet, I can tell you as educators, we have been educating ourselves on California Ed Code and working with our administrators in making sure we're in alignment with that California Ed Code. And also providing things like name badges that identify people as allies and safe people for children to come to be seen or heard. And if protection's needed, like from bullies or harsh words. Does that answer your question?
A little bit, but not really. But maybe.
You want to follow up?
No, I think I'm just wondering because you talked specifically about like the campus environment and you have the statistics about the bathroom specifically and like adults bullying children. So, when I hear stuff like that, I'm like, okay, well, there needs to be like some sort of a plan to address that type of climate. So I was more wondering if you had any ideas or plans or what you think that would look like in order to actually change the climate for the children at school.
I see. Yes, I can speak personally as a parent. I have reached out to teachers who have maybe inadvertently said things that were creating an unsafe space, just to educate the teacher. I don't work for Queer Humboldt, so I haven't delved real deeply into the results, the survey results. I know that Queer Humboldt is called in, like, as the Family Rainbow Network, I could see us being an advocate for getting Queer Humboldt trainings into the schools to make sure that the adults were aware of the language they were using and how that's creating unsafe spaces. I really see us as a coming together and kind of problem solving this. I don't have all the answers right now because I can see us coming together and trying to figure out best steps forward.
Okay,
And see what, yeah.
Mine was a little bit of a follow-up to that. Is there anything specifically being planned about the restroom in the school?
I'm sorry, did you say about the restrooms?
Anything specific that is being planned? Because that seems to be one of the big issues.
Not that I'm aware of. Again, I'm a teacher, so like I'm not in the administration level. And because we have so many different schools in the county, there isn't one blanket policy or action that's happening. Individual schools are addressing it in different ways. I would imagine there are schools that aren't addressing it. I know at my kids' high schools, there are non-gendered bathrooms that are locked, that they need to go get a key from the office in order to access it. So I know that schools in the area have addressed the bathroom issue by providing something and usually keeping it locked because for kids' safety, I think, and also that they don't get vandalized. But these are the kinds of things that I'm hoping a group could put our heads together and help solve.
Fascinating, asked what I was thinking, I couldn't have a statement.
Well, go ahead.
Okay. When it comes to disability justice and disability rights, and pretty much any justice or rights for marginalized populations, we're taught in school to listen to the people who we're trying to help and to raise up their voices and to take their lead. And I could see your monthly group turn into like a club and be able to come up with collective action ideas and to be able to move forward that way. But no, I'm happy that you're here looking to protect them.
I have one question. My concern would be this. You're asking us to support and endorse your program as a co-sponsor, I assume. On the surface, that seems reasonable to me. I do wonder, though, if we do that, the commission has a responsibility to consider things that we endorse. And would we be put at risk in any way, do you think, by lending our support to your group, and then the group maybe taking some action that we didn't foresee, that maybe isn't in our best interest or in the community's best interest? Could you address that?
And if I could add to that really quick too, that's the same concern I would have. Would it be something that you would be okay with you that not only did we allow the logo if at one time we choose to do that, but we would also have to possibly approve the documents that logo was being used on, so that we would cover ourselves the liability on our end.
Yes, that seems fair to me. Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that. In the beginning here, the only documents I can really see right now is a flyer advertising the group and calling people together to form the group. I could see in the future, letters maybe being written, and that I think that's a fair ask that the co-sponsoring organizations get approval on those before they get sent out. Jim, to your question, I don't know because it hasn't been formed yet. I don't foresee us trying to act outside of the law in any way. And I can see this just being a group of concerned parents wanting to make sure their kids are safe at school and in environments that are welcoming. I can see your hand.
I didn't mean that about acting outside of the law. I mean, from a policy point of view, we need to be careful that we aren't accidentally endorsing actions or policies of your group that might conflict in some way down the road with our policies and our mandate. And I think maybe there's a solution to this. Perhaps, I know you have a couple of months before your group actually gets started. Isn't that correct?
Yeah. This school year is winding down, so we're looking to start at the beginning of next school year.
Perhaps if your group could put in writing what your vision is for sponsors to be part of this activity, and what we're raising a couple of questions here. If those questions can be addressed, I think that might be a helpful thing that we could consider at our next regular meeting. I saw it. Hang on one second. Visitor, we actually aren't engaged in public comment at this time on a speaker's request, so I just wanted you to know I'm not ignoring you. I see the hand up, but this is a discussion just for the commission. There will be a chance for public comment later on in the meeting. Melissa?
Okay, and gender equality is at the very heart of human rights. So absolutely, I could see you coming to this forum to be able to reach out and ask for cooperation. But there's also other organizations in town like the Ravens Project and HC Tacey that are currently actively working to help young people with a lot of the challenges and difficulties that they're going through and to support them. They might be more experienced and less problematic to partner with. There is that possibility, other organizations.
Okay, great. Our intent is that there's a lot of emboldened hatred coming up in just not in our local area, but I guess in our local area, but also nationally. And so really this was our intent in asking for co-sponsorship is kind of one of solidarity, that if anything were to come up that we're not the bullseye on the target, I guess, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. And I think you've got a favorable group here in general. So we're only just trying to dot the I's and cross the T's before we say yes. So I think if we can get something in writing, I think that's going to be a strong way for us to consider what you're asking. And
Yeah.
Basically the same thing, like, I think, that we need some of the questions answered. I think part of the problem is we need a more solid proposal. That's what I
I'm
think.
sorry,
We need a
a
better
solid,
idea.
proposal.
Our proposal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need like a solid proposal or a better like developed idea, and that would make it easier for us to know if it was something that we were able to do. Because I think we're willing, it's not very clear. And I see that you're saying, well, it's not clear because we haven't started yet, but it's hard to say yes or no to something if we don't really have an idea of what it's going to be like. Because it sounds kind of like it could be a parent support group, but you're also talking about maybe taking action, and it's just a little. So I think a proposal, like something really direct and easy to digest for us would be good.
I
Carrie,
understand. Good.
a mission statement or something that you created?
One almost my last slide is what we're working with right now, which was the Rainbow Families Network will be a hybrid. It'll be support and co-education group that will work together in supporting our local schools in being safe places and ultimately becoming places of liberation. But I understand how that is broad, and it's kind of broad on purpose, because until I get a solid group, to kind of form it into something a little more solid. But I do work with the Rainbow Educators Network, and on Saturday, I'll be meeting with the Educators for Equity, and I think we could come up with something that's more solid and creates a picture of where I can see it going, but not everyone can crawl up in my head. So I think I could definitely get that to you by the next meeting.
If we could have that maybe a week or so before the next meeting, it would give us. And like Nazanin said, I think you have a group that's favorable to the project. We just want to nail it down just a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Okay. I just want to reiterate from the perspective of a community advocate to reach out and find partners to help find the message and to figure out where the need is in the community and how you can get allies and partnerships in that, especially since, yes, in taking care of an incredibly highly marginalized population and choosing to go out and make changes for them is going to require a strong ally base.
Yeah. So our target group are parents of LGBTQIA+, but also parents who are LGBTQIA+. And having that space where they can support each other in, I think what you're saying, and setting that agenda, so to speak, of pulling also allies together to support that community. I kind of talked in a big gobbledygook right there, but I think I understand what you're saying. Making sure that the marginalized community is represented and not just saved, I guess.
Exactly.
Well, I do think that you've gotten some good questions from us. They may be similar to what other groups would ask you as well. So I think we'll have to conclude it there, Carrie, but I want to thank you very much for presenting some very sobering statistics, I've got to admit. And if you will follow up with your group in pinning down the mission statement and the process for which a sponsor would be involved, I think we would be ready to move forward.
Great. Thank you so much for your time and allowing me to speak. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Okay. Next is our public comment period. The public is invited to speak regarding matters not on the agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Pursuant to the Ralph M. Brown Act, the commission may not act on an item not appearing on the agenda. Comments received by email will be presented by the chair. And I see one hand in the air at the moment. That would be Ash. So go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is Ash Teeter with Lost Coast Populist. Just wanted to tell Jim that I appreciate your words at the Board of Supervisors meeting. I could tell they came from the heart. Many people have said that the resolution on hate speech in this county, that the county has adopted, that the language is, universal in nature and covers pretty much everybody. And I can't really find fault in that statement. But it's also been said, of many people throughout time, that actions speak louder than words. And that the actions by this commission, the city of Eureka, and the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors has been that the proclamations using this language have only been initiated in defense of certain people. So what I wanted to ask is, would the Human Rights Commission be open to putting like a rapid response together to some of the hateful language that's been directed at like my fellow journalist, Donnie Creekmore, and Pastor Bramwell at St. Mark's. And they both had like hateful language that's been asked to like rape, kill, murder their families. That hateful message to anybody is horrible. Like I hated, or I didn't hate, but I just, didn't even want to read the message that was left on the comment on our petition. But is the Human Rights Commission open to serving in that capacity, to drafting a proclamation for other groups, that are, because if you're only issuing proclamations for like certain groups, then the universal language that you have in your proclamations, it's kind of hollow. And anyways, that's all. Donnie has the hateful message that he received, I believe, and he's going to read it for you. But I'd just like you to consider that. Just, even if you have universal language, if you don't use it for everybody, then it's not universal. Thank you.
Okay, before I go to the next caller, we don't normally respond to public comment on non-agenda items, but I will address your question this way. We already have a rapid response process for the commission. When we see an issue develop in the community, we have a process by which we decide what that response should be. It goes out to the media, and not any one person makes that decision. The other part of this is that
Turn it upside down and put it down.
I'm not using that, I'm sorry.
Hello?
Part of it is that making reference to the resolution that we didn't write. We haven't issued any resolutions. So I just wanted to make that clarification. Okay, if that concludes your comment, the other hand is for Loco.
Hey there. My name is Donnie Creekmore. I'm with Lost Coast Populist. I would like to definitely, repeat the sentiment that Ash had put out, and also thank you for your words, which also I felt were from the heart. I was also listening and spoke as well. The depth of this kind of goes a little further than the hate comments I'm about to read to you guys. It's actually doxing and threatening a larger community. And And basically, there's a community of what I guess you would call heteronormative parents, where we raise our children to be boys and girls, and that's just kind of the way we live. We have nuclear families. We have moms usually that stay at home with the dad that, like with my family particularly, we homeschool our kids, and it's just kind of the way we live our lives. Well, there's plenty of people that I stand in solidarity with, fathers and mothers, who take offense to drag shows, all ages, where adults can basically dance in provocative sexual manners, often with lewd themes and characterizations happening, all while with minors present. And when we see this, we kind of see it and we look at it and we think about it akin to a burlesque show, and where that would be obviously illegal for me to take my kids there. I can't bring my children to a rated R movie, for example, and drop them off at the door. I would have to walk them in, and I'm not even sure if that's even a possibility at certain establishments. So it just seems to me that there's some leeway being given to one certain group of people, and where it clashes is that a gentleman put together a petition called "End Drag Events for Kids in Humboldt County" and put it on to change.org, and it was subsequently taken down for apparently going against whatever community standards that website has. We put together a petition site because we looked at the language. We couldn't find any hate on it. We just parents not wanting drag events around children, around their kids, and they think it's wrong. And so we put it together and people were signing it. And that page has been shared multiple times by different local LGBTQ activists, doxing the people that were on the signature list, to the point where I was basically screamed at to take down the last names and the cities and the locations of the respondees, the signees. Okay. And so I took those down to where now all you can see is just the first name, the city, the title, and the message. Okay. After that, we got a rash of hate mail. And so here's one of the pieces of hate mail that I want to read to you. I want to pre-apologize for the language in this. This isn't language that I would ever use myself. This is language that was directed to me by a gentleman by the name of Frank Ellis. The phone number he gave was 707-543-6785. And he said, "So Donnie, I see this is where all the sub-hump human right-wing Christian nut jobs come to spread their hate. I see you have kids. Thanks for assuming good old America KKK will have to deal with another generation of Pukistan retards. You could do the world a favor by killing yourself, along with your worthless, inbred, good-for-nothing children and your fat whore of a wife who should be killed outright for being with you in the first place and helping you spawn more subhuman waste." End quote. And so that, I believe, is a crystallization of hate. The way that makes me feel, they're talking about my family, they're talking about my children. Obviously, I'm sure there's parents in the room that, you can only imagine the chill that would bring down your spine if that was directed to you. And all this is for standing up for what you believe in and standing in solidarity with other parents about something they believe in. So, yeah.
Thank you very much for being. Okay. I think I addressed both of those. Yeah. What? Sorry.
A did not take his hand down. That was
He never did take it down. Yeah, right.
like that show.
Sharon, were you here to speak?
I had raised my hand and I took it down, but now that you're asking, yes, I will. That's okay. I just wanted to Well, I don't know if I can say anything because okay, you'll stop me if it's inappropriate. I just want to say that when violence is being targeted at communities, it's very important. And I'm not telling you, any of you, anything you don't know. I think it's very important for people to stand in solidarity. So those communities do not feel any more isolated. And there are actually multiple groups supporting our teachers in schools around these issues. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Okay. Then next on our agenda is commission communications. Are there any commissioners that would like to share? Please.
I have several things I would like to share.
Okay.
First is that on May the 11th, from 5 to 7, there is a meet and greet mixer for NORCAN, which is a Northern California Association of Nonprofits. It will be at the Gene Lucas Community Center in Fortuna. And this, I think, would be an appropriate time for us to meet people from a lot of different nonprofits. I'm sure like LatinoNet and NAACP and your group is probably, I mean, lots of nonprofit groups will be there, and it's a way for us to meet people in the community. So you do not have to register or anything, you just show up there. It is in person.
Can you repeat that?
I'm sorry?
Can you repeat the day?
The day is May 11th. The time is 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Where is that location?
It's, the address is 3000 Newburgh Road. It's by the Newburgh Park. Go toward Newburgh Park and you'll see it. It's the Gene Lucas Community Center. And I have this, I can pass it around, and anybody who wants to take a look at it can do that. Second thing is Black Humboldt's 5th birthday gala and dinner is tomorrow night from 6 to 9. And it is at the historic Eagle House in Eureka. And I think they're, I'm not even sure that you could get a dinner now, but I think it's something that we should be aware of. It is happening. There's also, we talked a lot about human trafficking here, and there is a Humboldt Against Sexual Exploitation Awareness Conference. And we'll be talking about human trafficking and sexual trafficking. Yes, it is the HASE Awareness Conference. And that is, let's see, May 23rd. And it's an all-day thing, 9 a.m. to 3 at the Blue Lake Casino. And I'll pass that around too, if anybody wants to take a look at it. I just wanted to read something about human trafficking as a subject that does not tend to make regular news appearances, but still a huge ongoing and international issue. Thousands of victims of human trafficking every year at the regional, national, and international levels, of which 20% are children. There are several different attempts at all levels of government to approach this issue, including the United Nations Trafficking Protocol, which provides an international division definition of human trafficking. The main purpose of that is to better continue suppression and punishment of human trafficking. In addition to those international standards, there have been some efforts at the domestic level to address the issue within the power of the United States government. Several members of Congress have introduced bills on the topic, and there is some degree of bipartisan support. But what the group that I got this from said they found is that the bipartisan support is that in most cases, it's generally seen that members of each party have a different approach to how to deal with this issue. There are a few bills in Congress right now, including those about international trafficking victims. And a bill that would be instrumental in the United States is the Protection Reauthorization Act, which was introduced at the end of March. Efforts continue to combat human trafficking, especially at the international scale. And finally, I would like to address the resolution from the Board of Supervisors that you brought up and several people have brought up. I have been thinking about that, and I would like to suggest that we, for next meeting, that we discuss this and how we respond to that with a way of letting the Board of Supervisors know that we appreciate the fact that they've done it, but that we want something from them about how we can help them to do this in our community. And I think Sharon addressed violence. One of the ways I think we might be able to address this is to think about how we could have some kind of forum or educational event or something that talks about what free speech is and where it stops when it brings about violence. And I think we need to talk more about that free speech isn't forever anything you ever want to say. You can't scream fire when there's no fire. So I think we need to get our community more on page with what kinds of words do bring violence and are dangerous to our community and to people in the community. So that's my soapbox for tonight.
Very good. I add to her so far.
I wanted to. Okay, you go next.
It's not general discussion. Go ahead.
Oh, there's a new book out, American Midnight, that deals with events that took place in World War I into the early 20s. Haven't seen it. It's a good book. Highlights the demagogues that have always existed in our country and how they take events and use it to stifle civil rights. And, it's a hard read, maybe not quite as bad as the American genocide, that Natalie wrote about Native Americans in the United States over the last 250 years, but it's still very difficult. If you don't know the history of our country, what people have done in the name of liberty.
Brief comment.
It's not really appropriate. I'd love to say it, but it's not.
Okay.
I do have another.
Yeah, sure.
Unrelated to all that.
Okay.
Jim already knows, the rest of you may not know, that I've been waging a battle with the Brown Act because of this business that can't have people, who are participating on this commission using just the internet. They have to be here, their bodies have to be here, although I guess they're allowed to. And anyway, I looked at the law. I saw loopholes in it, but I've had, of course, I actually asked the clerk of the board about it. Of course, they both stand by it. The county council, I'll say this publicly, I don't care, they can read it, hear about it afterwards, but I don't have much use for them because they funded it. And I asked, they just basically referred back to the clerk and they, you guys are county council, you're supposed to give me a legal opinion. I don't want to hear it from the clerk.
I got the same response.
You got the same response. Well, I continue, I'm going on with it. Yeah, I contacted, well, you don't need to know that it's AB 244 something or other. But anyway, I contacted the assemblywoman who wrote the latest update to the Brown Act, asked for clarification. I also contacted Senator McGuire's office, asking for clarification. They all pretty much all agree with what we've been hearing, but that's kind of stuck with it. Although again, there is another loop I'll talk about here in a second. I haven't stopped though. I have asked McGuire's office. I found that paragraph in the most obnoxious bit of writing that I've ever seen in my life. who gave me that in the classroom, I would send it back to him and say, you need to rewrite this, that I can understand this gibberish. Okay, I guess legally is always that way. But I did find a relevant paragraph about two absences and everything, and I asked for an amendment to that bill, because it was just passed in 2022, so I mean, it's brand new, and I said, can we get an amendment to deal with communities like Humboldt, where 50% of the population live in about 3 or 4 cities, but other 50% are spread out. It's very, very difficult for them to travel to show up these meetings. I mean, we're starting at 5:30, we're gonna get done. Maybe it's 7, probably maybe as late as 7:30, and it says over there. And then they have to travel an hour or more to get back. It's not fair. And I don't see the reason why we can't do that. I mean, I understand what Brown Act is all about in the first place. Going, none of us are being paid, volunteers, we're not even getting compensated, mileage or anything else. It's ridiculous that they put those prices. So I'm waiting to hear back. I have friends over there in the Flyers office, hoping that maybe they will actually move on that.
I can't believe that it would only be affecting us.
No, it's not. No, it's in general, but I mean, but it's wrong. I mean, because as I pointed out to you, it kept talking about governing board. Going, yeah, well, I understand it for a governing board, but these guys are getting paid to do it and compensated for the mileage and everything else. We're not. Most of the 37 cities and commissions here in the county are not. So it doesn't seem to be fair. The other thing, if I don't lose my train of thought, I did also talk to OES involved in first world about, and that's the other aspect of this bill. Sorry to hear the thoughts already left, because the county is still under an emergency, but earthquake, flood, and as a result of the emergency, this law does not apply. I don't care what they say. I mean, I'm willing, quite frankly, to push comes to shove. Might be interesting in our state if maybe the Human Rights Commission is the first commission in the state of California to file a lawsuit against the state on the Brown Act. I think really needs to be brought up because, I'm sure this is happening in countless other counties besides Humboldt.
A state level advocates for disability rights fought it so hard. I'm on board.
So I think we might be able to do something.
Would we be relying on county council?
No, I think we could find a number of other counties support.
Thank you, Guy, for doing
Well, like I said, I'm pretty upset about it because I know this group, I'd only been on for a short time again. First time was even shorter, but that had bothered me, the fact that many of our communities are not represented. And, in the past, and it's think about it, we weren't dealing with Zoom and all these things, but ever since, maybe the one good thing about COVID was the fact that it got us kind of on board that telecommunication does work. It's not new. It's been around for a long time. So why the heck can't we use it?
I think we will have that on our next agenda. And we'll expect some sort of a progress report. That would be very interesting to find out. And then maybe we'll seek counsel. That would be exciting. It's not against you, right?
Right.
Maybe we could also ask them for $500 if we win. Just, for the bank.
Let's
Yeah.
Okay, we better move on with our agenda then. Message line reports. There is no correctional facilities report because Larry is sick, but he did report that he's been in communication with the jail. One of those communications is related to calls that I had at the 1st of April. There was an inmate that was complaining about treatment that he was receiving in the jail. And Larry took care of that. And I don't know how it was resolved. The other call I had was a request for resource cards, which, by the way, if you need any to distribute anywhere, please feel free. We can get lots of them if you need them. I have a few here to share with everybody tonight. Then the next period in reporting would be April 16th through the 30th, and that was Kim.
So was mine. I had two calls. One was referred to the jail call. It was referred to Larry, and the other call was a gentleman who called previously and was confirming that he is going through the process of reaching out to all the appropriate parties. I believe it was to the governor's office. So he was waiting on callbacks for his resolution, but there was nothing.
It wasn't an issue that we could.
No, it was he just explained that he'd done all he could and called in the past, and then he had reached out to the appropriate parties and was told to reach out to the supervisors, and that's where his call sat and was waiting for a call back.
I know the person you're talking about. In the past, he has called frequently.
I saw the notes log. So as long as he stated that had gone through the appropriate route, there was no communication from me. That's what's just stating that he was.
As of
Is
3
it too
o'clock,
early for any report from you?
as of 3 o'clock this afternoon, there's been no message.
They've been quiet lately. So just a reminder, Larry did say that he will be on the phones after you are Bird, and he said he will be back to that. And a reminder that June 1st through the 15th is Guy, and 16th through the 30th is Ellen. And we should decide tonight who's going to take July 1st through the 15th and 16th through, are there 30 days in July? 31. Do we have any volunteers for July 1st through the 15th? Okay. And just like I did with Kim, if you want a little tutorial before that
I
date,
would love a tutorial.
I don't have to twist your arm, huh?
No.
Okay, we'll arrange that.
Okay, thank you.
And, okay. All right, we covered that. All right, next items on the agenda are standing committee reports. Sanctuary, I assume, has nothing. I haven't heard anything.
The only thing I have to report on Sanctuary is I did contact Commander Plaza again. I haven't heard back from him. You know, he may be very busy. So obviously, it's just semester. It's going to be ages. I don't date back to the teens when school.
I remember when it was HSC.
So, sorry, it's like down south, it's Fernando Valley State College. We used to call it. Now it's Steve. But anyway, regardless, I am busy with finalizing this semester. Obviously, must not be a big crisis. No news is good, I hope.
I hope. All right, the next committee is human trafficking, education and eradication. There are two things I'd like to bring up, even though the committee didn't meet since the last, well, hasn't met recently, put it that way. We do have two items that I wanted to bring up. The first, because there is funding that has been designated for human trafficking, I have a request from EPI, which is Empower, Protect, and Invest, to support the conference that Bird talked about earlier. And the request is for $600, $500 to be a co-sponsor, along with Seroptimus Clubs of Eureka and the North Coast Rape Crisis Team. $500 to be a co-sponsor and $100 for miscellaneous expenses related to this project that will be at the Blue Lake Casino. So I guess I would like to ask for a motion.
I move that we give $600 to EPI for the HASD conference. Is that what it is?
Yes, that's right.
I second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Well, did you have a conversation about what that money was for? The sponsorship of $500?
It's basically just to support their expenses.
So it just goes into their budget and their that throughout
Right.
the time and not just for them.
I have a feeling it'll spill over into other activities as well. Any further discussion on this?
Sure. What do they do? I'm sorry.
I don't know. Answer.
Okay.
I'm not sure what you. Oh, yes.
Okay. This is where you gave me, right?
Was there any further discussion?
Oh, yeah, that's good. Okay. Let's do
We've
that.
got our approval. Seeing no further discussion, is all those in favor of approving this expenditure of $600, please indicate by raising your hand. Every hand is raised, so it's unanimously approved. I have an invoice. Did I already give it to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I know what it is.
Yeah. Well, the invoice was written before the approval was given, but now it's new. The second thing I wanted to bring up for your consideration is that the standing committee that we're talking about was established when we were administering a fund through the Humboldt Area Foundation. That fund no longer exists. So it occurs to me that perhaps this committee needs to become an ad hoc committee. Not that we'll walk away from it, but we won't be constrained by the Brown Act and having to post a notice of a meeting in the future. So I would entertain a motion to convert this committee to an ad hoc committee with an expiration date of 12/31.
I second.
Who seconded? Kim? Oh,
Which committee?
okay, the human trafficking.
Oh, the human I thought you meant.
No,
I was like, wow.
No, you were here a short time, weren't you? Okay, is there any discussion on that change? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. All in favor, so it's unanimously approved.
Just rubber stamp, you know that.
Oh, I'm sure that I'll say something.
Good for you.
Okay. Now the ad hoc committee reports, Cultural Awareness Committee. Carol is chair there. I'm not aware that they have met. Okay. And the Homeless Behavioral Health Committee, that one is due to expire June 30th, but we can extend it.
We haven't been meeting. Right now, we're just watching what the state's doing.
But would you like to propose that we extend the end date?
No.
Okay. All right. We'll just take a look at that one.
Yeah.
All right. I had mentioned earlier about the commission logo. The next time we meet, we will have a new logo to look at. As related to the sponsorship, they will temporarily use our existing logo, which is basically the seal of the county of Humboldt. But in the future, we'll be able to start using that on our letterhead. And anytime we do co-sponsor anything. Human Rights PSA Committee. We did not meet because the day we were supposed to meet, I didn't have any internet. And so we didn't meet. We planned to meet on the 11th of May. This when we're scheduled. Maybe both things can happen. We'll see. At any rate, just to bring you up to speed, it's been a struggle to get people to follow through. I've made it really clear what we're asking them to do. We want people to representing various groups, whether it's people of color, gay, lesbian, Jewish, you name it.
It's both.
I knew you were going to do that. But any group at all to speak up, and actually the only one we got a solid response from was the disability group. Most of the others have said they're interested, but they're not following through with their proposal. And we don't want it to be us speaking for them. We want them to write up what means something to them and the group. So we'll extend this on a little bit longer. Firsthand, I saw. Okay, go ahead, Aaron.
Can we compensate them for when we this? I was going to say the problem is they don't pay. I have money. That we're trying to figure
Well,
out.
we hadn't considered it that way, but we do have some funds. You've already approved $3,000 to for production of these commercials, and I don't know. We can have that discussion of whether or not there's a reasonable amount that we can afford to compensate that might entice them to.
I hate to disagree,
Oh, that's what discussions.
but yeah, I personally see this as a very dangerous impact. That it's difficult to put yourself out there for everybody to judge.
I agree with that. But just keep in mind, there are a lot of ways this can be done. You don't have to show the person necessarily. You might show situations, you might show graphics that, so it's not like a person is outing themselves to the public for whatever the issue is.
So maybe we could do some sort of like a cartoon thing about it.
It could be anything, and it can vary from one group to another. It doesn't have to be the same for everybody, but we have to have their statement, their vision statement. They want to convince the county of Humboldt's population that this is why you need to pay attention to me or us.
Yeah.
Whatever that happens to be. Yes, guy.
First thing I think you guys need to do. Yeah. Really do think you need to come up with, obviously, with an idea of what you want PSA, storyboard it, get an idea of how you put it together. Back in early 90s, Metro example, teaching, teaching journalism, video production. We would contact Metro producing series of video PSAs, principally not providership for safety, because they have money. So he gave us the idea of what they wanted, formulated 30-second, 45-second, 50-second spot that felt would say, that's what we need right now, because otherwise we're going to be all over the place. What is it you actually want to have? How long do you want it? I can't imagine it's longer than that. So longer than that, it's on PSA. And it's, if you want to do a full length something and get together with key
Documentary.
see if, maybe there'll be some interest over there. Maybe there'll also be some financial support too. We don't have an endless money, because I don't know what's going to happen. I started sending some of these. Yeah, they're going to pay it now. But yeah, good luck.
Well, I hope you're wrong about that, but we'll find out soon enough.
Yeah, but I do think that's is to formulate a group what precisely is you how you want to present it. Yeah, it definitely help out.
Well, there was the suggestion that some sort of compensation might be something we could consider. Bert, go ahead.
I'd like to speak against that. We are paying for this to be produced. And we are giving them an opportunity to speak to the community in a way that they think is appropriate for their organization. And they're not having to pay for it.
The free
But I don't think we should pay them.
And so that makes me think, why are they turning it down? And that's why I keep coming back to it. It's dangerous to put yourself out there. And possibly complicated climate.
Possibly I'm sorry.
I was just gonna add, that goes back to what I'm saying. If you put something together and then you present them, yeah, you might have to buy into it, because then they go, oh, that's what you want to be doing. Because they don't have any idea what you're gonna do. It's just like the gal we just had earlier, the school. Yeah, she's got an idea, but it hasn't
gelled yet.
Yeah. And so, if you have something there, then people will buy into it. More comfortable.
And I think one of the things that's part of that is to give suggestions to them, from the point of view of someone who works with people in nonprofit. If you want to tell the community who you are, you tell them your vision statement and your mission statement. And that could be read by Jim from Human Rights Commission. This is coming from an XYZ nonprofit. And on the screen, you have their logo or a picture of an activity or something. They wouldn't even have to be there. I mean, but they could buy the information.
Right.
And maybe we need to make that clear that they don't have to be on camera, that could be done for them.
I think that's a good thing to mention to them. I really don't think that the reason they're not responding is fear of exposure or whatever you want to call it. I think it's just we haven't zeroed in on what it is we're asking to do. And I keep thinking we have, but apparently not clearly enough.
Have you asked them why they're hesitating?
I've done follow-up communications and so we've already extended the deadline. Can you get something in? And they say yes, and then I don't hear from them.
Did you ask them why they can't get something in, or like if they?
The only group I know of that had a specific reason, well, there were two. One had to do with the Office of Education, that's Queer Humboldt. They were going to get approval from their administration, and I haven't heard back. So I thought they were on board. NAACP was interested, but the person that was supposed to create the draft is having some health issues. And I thought when Sharon was here tonight, I thought maybe that was why she was here, but that wasn't the reason. So I think this discussion gives the committee, which is at the moment is just you and I and Tracy Priestley, gives us some things to talk about when we do meet, more than we would have had otherwise. So why don't we come back to you with something firm? Obviously, the deadline will pass and we'll have to move to a new deadline or regroup. I did think about the possibility of the Human Rights Commission speaking on behalf of people. That is a possibility. I presented four possibilities to you and Tracy in an email. That was one of them. So, yes, sir.
So I would object to that.
Yeah, me too.
The problem I have with it is, speaking as a white male, I'm just looking at it and saying, big issue we always deal with is invisibility. We don't need you to be there, to be the one who's visible.
I tend to agree.
I just don't think we have a band to be on it.
But
Well, I didn't mean it had to be Jim.
no, I know.
But a spokesperson. But what does that spokesperson
And that would be
look
giving
like?
us visibility, which we want.
Well, this is going to go back to the committee and we'll discuss it further and have something new to propose to you.
One more thing,
One more.
it's gotta be said. You hold a position with power and privilege. And I know you might not see it that way, but then going to marginalized groups and having any idea could just get in their craw. Like, what's this guy understand about what we're going through, and to work with him at all would be a challenge.
That is.
I can see that, although I'm more acquainted with some of these groups than you might.
Okay, so it's probably not okay. Okay, sorry.
No, not with all.
Sorry, that's all.
But I appreciate the thought.
I want to agree with it. One of the issues, yeah, that's our next thing, the indigenous people. I don't think a lot of people have any faith. I mean, back, I don't know how many months ago it is that the instituted, it's called to order this land acknowledgement that has become rife throughout the country. And quite frankly, I said it at the time, it's meaningless. You know, it's a lot of window dressing, doesn't mean anything. And that's why I think a lot of people kind of go, well, what are you going to do? Where's, you know, can we really depend on you doing anything?
Other than reading.
That's a good point. Did I see another? Yeah.
I don't want to get done.
Okay, well, I do.
Oh, yeah, me too. That would be nice.
Okay. Well, we,
Right.
oh, I assume we do not have a report from the indigenous.
I do have one thing for you. Though.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm sorry. Well, we got a late message from Lisa about this tribal event that took place over at the Lake Casino, and I got Alice's restaurant, in case you guys want to go and give me the menu over there too. And they gave me a nice little name card.
Right now?
No, no. But if you want to go, it's open till 9. Let's be give us late notice on it. I did go over there to see what was happening. Well represented by native tribes, a lot of organizations, attorneys, legal services, that sort of thing. Definitely had a lot of law enforcement there. I wasn't there for than about a half an hour, just kind of wandering through, listening to people making speeches, whatever. The only disappointment I had, I don't know, perhaps Supervisor McDonald was there, I don't know. But I didn't really see anybody or supervisors, and I really didn't see very much of the rest of the community. I walked in over there and said, yeah, this is the native community, but where's everybody else? So, that's all I could report on. I did actually make it out there.
That's good that you did. Karen.
I just thought it was noteworthy since it's the Indigenous Peoples meeting that this week is back in service and tomorrow. One people. There's a next schedule.
Right. Oh, thank you for bringing that up. Okay, next committee report is the Junior Human Rights Commission. You did meet. Hey.
University, we made it. We did. So Bert and Ellen and I met and we started, it's been a little bit, we had a little bit of a hard time connecting and so we started by talking about, discussing the challenges and strategies of moving this forward. This is clearly a committee that has kind of got a lot of workload with it, much like the PSA one. So there's a lot of kind of components to it. So we have a couple of strategies that we want to discuss. First one though was that we revised the timeline of our work, so I'm going to share that before I make my other ask. The goal was originally to have elections for junior commissioners in spring 2023, which meant that we would have had to start getting the word out in the fall. We got a little bit of a late start, and even though we started off well in January, I just didn't have the steam to carry it through. So our new timeline would have us, and again, I university and my life is on like terms, like semesters. So summer, which would be June to August, we want to develop a list of contacts at all the schools, draft email to school representatives to try to get folks on board and talking about it. And then plan and prepare an information session for interested youth that we'll offer via Zoom. Identify and select a planning group. So we really want this to be student developed or youth developed and youth led. So we can't really do the planning without that group. So we're just going to really focus on getting those youth identified and on board to do the rest of the planning, which of course, and then the first thing we're going to do is have them try to schedule a meeting with them to meet with the similar junior rights commissions that we have.
We assume type meeting.
Yeah. We did email the superintendent at HCOE to see if he could give us some advice on how to make some movement forward on that. I haven't heard that. So, and then Ellen emailed the people who had responded from schools to the human rights the survey that was done last year. And so we're waiting to hear back for just advice and insight. In fall semester, which would be September to December, we're thinking we want to convene bi-weekly meetings with the youth. And in that process, we would develop bylaws and recruitment strategies and planning for orientations and meeting structures, election processes and all that would be developed at that point. And then the spring, January through May would be when we would hold an election process for our first official human rights or junior human rights commission and work on developing a sustainability plan. So how is that once this ad hoc committee is dissolved, how will that be? So my asks. The first one, we'd like to ask that our committee be extended. It currently is set to expire December 31st. We'd like to ask that it gets extended to June 30th, 2024, which would get us through that second part of the work. Okay. And then the second one is we did lose a committee member. We would love another interested in this topic.
Mary Lyons has resigned from the commission.
Right.
She's no longer.
You want me to address those one at a time?
And then the other thing is, we discussed as one of the strategies recruiting one or more master students from Humboldt to do this as a project next year to like help keep moving it forward. Because I have a lot of capacity in the summer.
Well, let's try to address these asks one at a time. Is there anybody that's looking for something to do? You'd like to join this committee? I will join your committee. Great, thank you, guys. And then secondly, I don't know if we need to vote on it, but would we like to extend this date to June 30th, 2024? There seems to be agreement there, so that's approved. We need to address the master. Isn't that the third one?
I don't think so. I mean,
At this point.
unless anyone has any concerns.
Okay.
With some of the labor part of it.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for meeting. That's half the battle. Okay, moving right along. Unfinished business. We won't have a Title IX issues report because Lisa is in France. So
Nice.
She didn't mention she's about to be in France, so.
I'm not even mad.
Well, I am. I did.
That wasn't good.
I had very involved.
All of it. Keep up, guy.
I did. No, okay. I did include observance of Juneteenth, but I don't have any specific proposals for us to be involved unless anybody here does.
I think I saw something come through, but I don't even remember. I think there was a tabling possibility or something, but I don't remember.
Well, I'll look through my Narcan.
Yeah. Norcan, some kind of tabling, and it was not, it was like early in June.
I don't remember because it didn't have anything to do with the facilities.
I'll double check that and see if there's a way for us to be represented. The other one is Festejando, is that right? At Cal Poly, that's on September 16th. I'm going to make an effort to reach out to Fernando Paz and see how we might be involved in that project. At least getting our name in there. At this point, we've still got time to plan what we would do. Good. All right, great. That's all the unfinished business I had. Under new business, we had 3 items. 2 of them are related with the resignation of Mary Lyons, which actually happened last month. We also have the election of the new officers for the new next term, which starts July 1st. And I've got some notes here that are taken directly from the bylaws. But basically, I'd like to set up an ad hoc committee made up of just 2 people. Bert, I'm hoping you would chair that along with Larry to set up the mechanics of how we conduct our election in June and how you want to advertise the request for nominations.
I would say right now that we did this, we've done it in the past, and I think it was a good way of doing it. Larry and I could just set up our emails, send an email to everyone of what's available. I mean, all the positions are available because they're a 1-year term. And there are term limits, but it's 4 times, yes. So what we would be asking is for people to send us their nominations of anyone. And then we would check with those people to be sure they're willing to be on the slate and then present that at the June meeting.
Yeah, the only stipulation in our bylaws is that you must have been on the commission for 6 months. Other than that, anybody is eligible. You may nominate yourself. You also may nominate for more than one position. So
6 months by July 1.
Yes.
yes. So if you have it.
Awesome. We can do it, guys.
So is there anybody who would not be on?
Maybe.
Oh, did you come 1 month back in February? And you came 1 month before.
I'm
Well, it
afraid
should
you
be
might
on
not be eligible yet.
Your letter, you should have gotten a letter from the Board of Supervisors, and that would be your thing of, would go by.
Well, I have the information on the roster at home.
I don't think,
Well, if you have it, then you get that to Larry.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So if you guys will make the arrangements, it'll be a short-term committee. And
Thanks a lot.
you're welcome. What have you done for me lately? You know I'm kidding.
that's brutal. Yeah, we were.
So when do we do the voting?
Number, that's five. I wanted five. And just, you know, it's wide open. You can, like I said, you can nominate yourself. You can be nominated for more than one position. And I'm sure the committee will ask you if you are going to decline the nomination. So please give that some thought and move forward with the discussion. The last item on the agenda, actually, I have to apologize, Nazanin, for not putting your requested item on the agenda, but this might fit, which would be my suggestion that it's time that we, her request was that we, why don't you restate your?
That was a lesson. Well, I, at this point, have developed it as,
Rebuilding
yeah,
10 steps.
at least, it might be more than, actually, like in the Google document. I was gonna print it and bring it, but I have some other stuff to work on.
Well, then why don't you bring it back?
So my plan is
Revitalizing the.
to get the commission more connected. And it's in my head, the way to do that is gonna take, like, there's multiple steps. It's gonna take a lot of work, like, you know. So, and I'm totally open to other people's ideas about it. I don't know how to, like, do I need to do a committee to do that?
Well, we won't know that until we see what you're proposing.
Okay,
So we'll definitely add that on the agenda.
yeah.
My immediate response was because of COVID, because of a variety of things, we're underrepresented Southern Humboldt.
Mhm.
And we have done a town hall type meeting down there before. This is pre-Zoom. And I don't know what the commission feels they'd like to do or consider, but we could do it again. At the time, the hot button issue down there was homelessness. Now it's homelessness and the general decay of the community, basically. So I'm open to suggestions on. Would you like to explore the idea of doing that around the town hall type get together down there?
Yeah.
Yes, please, that sounds great.
Sounds like you have interest. Would you want to set up a committee now to build the framework for that or bring it up at the June meeting? I kind of
Give
have the
us time
same-
to think about.
We met, where did we meet? That was at the,
Oh, what was
it was a school, it was a converted school. It's not a hospital.
No.
I mean, it wasn't then, but it is now, I think.
Oh, it could be, I don't. Somebody's hall, some group's hall.
Can't remember the name of it, but well, anyway, please give that some thought too, and maybe it will mesh with something Nazanin was suggesting. Yes,
How many commissions are open right now?
with the newest one, we have 3,
Okay,
and the CAO's office did ask me that same question today because they want to put the word out to their news feed advertising. So that's going to be helpful. Yes.
and, are college students be on the commission?
Yeah.
And follow up on that, if I were to say, it's sort of an info flyer, do you have access to just?
She's got all kinds of ideas.
does.
Very good. Well, that brings me to the conclusion of the printed agenda. Are there any last minute items?
I just have to ask one thing of everyone. My ears are as old as I am, which is pretty old. And some of you have very lovely, soft voices, and then you cover your mouth. And I can't read when you do that. and I'm really asking everybody to please speak up. I was asked if I would rejoin because my term was up, would be up in a month. And I said, yes, I would. But I do have to be able to hear everyone. And I can't always hear some of the soft voices. So I'm begging you, please don't make me say I have to resign because I can't hear anyone.
We don't want you to resign. I hope you heard that.
I did hear it. And I know that I have a loud voice. Some of you have very lovely soft voice.
Are you looking at the people who you know? But thank you, if we knew I started to be better at it as a group, because this is not the first time you brought this up. I've only been here for a couple of months, and we can do a better job of all of us reminding everyone else to speak up. So especially if there's certain people you're like, I cannot hear anything you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
you might as well just let us know
Yeah.
so that we can support you.
Well, I will have to say that, Erin, you made a suggestion earlier, and I could not understand what you, I
Okay.
don't know what your suggestion was. And Tim, you tend to talk like this. And it's hard. I do try to lip read. I know when I'm wearing a mask, you can't lip read me, but I think you can probably hear me.
Yeah.
So those were the two that I missed things with today. And I don't want to miss things. And sometimes, Jamie, you're great, but other times.
I know. I'm fully aware, and my husband's also does all the time. I wonder if we could put on the back here, remember to speak loudly or clearly, just a reminder.
No, yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Why not?
We'll do that.
Because that would help me, because I know I do it.
Thank you, I really thank you.
And as chair, I'll try to also be thinking about it as we go through.
I think it's like, there's a huge movement in, putting pronouns on.
I was also
cards.
thinking.
Yeah. And I'm like, let's do it. Come on, guys. Let's.
Next week, or next month, our guest speaker is going to be doing nothing but talking about pronouns.
So let's be prepared.
Perfect.
Okay.
Well, then I
Then do you need to know?
need to write on the back of yours
Okay,
the pronouns that you
prefer?
Yes.
Okay.
And then-
Yours looks like
It is. You want us to put it on the back of it, is that what you said?
Yeah, on the back of your name card. And if you had one, Kim, we'll get you one.
Oh, I can run out of phone, right? Are you gonna reprint it?
Yours will get reprinted, yeah.
You're special.
well, I don't have the space.
Oh.
All right.
Oh, I have another future agenda. Are we there yet?
Yes, we are there.
Okay, I was informed by some community members that in 2021 and 2022, there were some folks who brought to the board, our commission's attention that we needed to get equity training. And I wanted to follow up that. And I thought also just, that's a part of the stuff I'm interested in as well, not just offering resources and training for the community, but training and resourcing ourselves as a committee. But I feel like that's kind of, like the pronoun thing, like getting people to do little educational, like blurb, something like that. I don't think it's a bad idea, but I would maybe propose that we could talk more about it.
How about inviting the HR department to make a DEI presentation?
Yeah.
Like we had
That
tonight?
would be great. I think also, I heard like Equity Arcata, that's an organization that does
Yes.
those kind of training. So I think it's a really good idea for us to get some folks like that in.
Well, we can't just be preaching about stuff.
Well,
We need
and
to-
stuff changes, right? Vernacular changes,
Yeah.
the way,
All the time.
right, the way people
Yeah.
want to be addressed like this. So, and I feel like it's just an active part of wanting to do this work is keeping up to date with what's happening.
Very
Yeah.
good. Yes.
And I would argue that a lot of HR departments are, because they're so based on policy, are actually behind and they need equity training too. So it's just something to put out there.
No, I think you're right. Jeremy Clark is a very good person with this HR department. And they've got an active program, but I get your point. very seriously.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay, we'll add that. Good. Any other items on the agenda? Yep.
Can I just ask, what happened to the $1,200? Is that what we were trying to roll over into the next fiscal year?
The $1,200 is Plain Foundation
Okay.
money, and do we have a time frame that we have to use it by?
Yeah, we discussed it the last
Yes.
meeting.
It's expiring.
It was grant, it was released.
You can donate it to Tri-County sponsorship for our expo in September, but you can donate it early.
Trouble is, it has to be spent in or about Southern Humboldt.
So we can't put that towards
No,
outreach meeting?
well, yes, we could, if we're that far enough, if we're far enough along in the planning stages in June, I think we would be okay.
I just realized I'm not allowed to ask to donate to an organization part of and being part of this committee.
Ooh, that's
I withdraw.
conflict of interest.
Withdraw my request.
So what would we need, how far along would you need to be in the planning
Well-
process in order to do
You
that?
have to have a budget.
I will, we would have to have some budget estimates of what we need to spend. We might not know that until we make contact with some people in Southern Humboldt. I'm thinking Garberville, as to what a facility might cost and what other expenses might be involved. And whether or not we could even do a Zoom.
I think it's a good idea to do it in person.
Oh, I think we'd need to be
Yeah.
there in person, but it would be nice to also have that capability, but we'll have to check on the tech aspect.
So. Well, isn't it?
Well, one of you. Go ahead.
Like over email, like you could.
Yes, that's.
Contacts and then by June, you can have it.
We don't have to wait till June 1st to come to any conclusions. We can develop that. We just can't have a serial meeting
Right.
per se, because that would violate the ground. And some communication would be acceptable.
Is there a deadline money actually spent, or does it just have to?
Yeah, it is, June 30th would be the
I
deadline.
think that's it, isn't it, Guy?
I'm not, that's what I was gonna mention.
But it,
I was just gonna add. I'm not-
but I think.
We
if
gotta
you-
move, we have to move immediately. Because I don't know what, I haven't looked at it yet.
Would you communicate
But I
that?
think if we have a plan, with a budget that they'll,
Oh, good. That would help.
I'm pretty sure.
I know, Denise has been pretty
I'll
nice
talk to
about
Denise.
the,
Give us about.
we have to do really, really quick.
Bird on her.
Yeah.
Birds ready to pounce. Okay. Okay. Any other items? Jeez. I bet.
No,
I'm not volunteering.
I just want to talk about it or propose it as something we can talk about next time. I'm hoping that everybody is aware that there was a woman, a student and artist who was killed in McKinleyville in April by her ex-partner. And I heard actually, so she's a Black woman. I heard that there was another Black person that died weeks ago, and it was not murder, but it was like overdose related. So I'm proposing we need to talk about how to keep people safe and talk about femicide, women dying. I don't know, something, right? Like, I feel like this is the right place, even though these are hard conversations. And who knows what kind of cans of worms it could be opening, but I feel like we have to like have some way to address this.
Well, is femicide the right terminology to use? For
I think it is, but I think
agenda?
that like.
Is it?
Is it based in human rights? Because I'm
Yes.
pretty sure that gender.
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
Oh, it
is-
fits that.
Yeah,
It'll be on
Yeah.
the next.
Okay. And I have this article that the student newspaper did about me in Felder, if anyone wants to read it or.
What issue?
Okay,
What issue?
It just came up.
Unless you want to be here all night, but let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kim has a long day ahead of her still. Anyway, we'll call this meeting adjourned. And thank you very much for your participation and enthusiasm. I liked it a lot.
Okay, now we gotta rearrange tables.
Yes, we do.
The video off?
It needs to be.
What's
turned
that?
on.
The video off?
Not yet.
May I?
Yes, you may.
Yeah.